Hey guys, it's Benefits of a G from G Tracker here, and a disclaimer real quick for this video is I'm not going to be showing anything that I've personally done during the market panic that has recently just happened, but rather as a merchant you can kind of protect yourself from events like this in the future and try and profit off of this if you're risky enough to do so. Now there's already been quite a lot of posts on why the market crashed, and I'm not going to go into that in this video, but a popular YouTuber content creator by the name of Seven also made a post about this a couple of days ago. And the most important thing I want to note off of this post is this right here. The only people who are really hurt by this market shift are those that sell their gear midway through the panic and then have to overpay when prices rebound and stabilize. Now, if you've ever watched my video game updates, I've gone through a wide variety of updates that have happened in the game, the market shift that happens during them, the community thought process during that, and then as a merchant, how you could have thought during that time. And one of the key factors that I mentioned in that video is that anytime that there's a drop in price, if it's a hard enough drop, there's always going to be a rebound. And he even recognizes this and mentions that there is going to be a rebound. This was like 2 days ago, and normally I don't like to talk about markets. I don't like to talk about items or the market if it's too close to kind of things changing, but I feel comfortable now making a video on this, seeing as though the community's kind of calmed down a little bit. It's not as chaotic as it used to be. But as a merchant, during these times of panic, they can either be a great time for you to make a lot of money, or if you're not careful, you can lose a lot of money. And I do have here at the very top, I have 3 different items that I want to go into just as examples, but please keep in mind this is not endorsing any specific item to flip. This is looking at their past behavior and looking at, analyzing how and why they behaved a certain way they did. You guys already know why they crashed, but in terms of a merchant's perspective, we're going to look a little bit deeper into that. And then again, I feel comfortable talking about these now because of the way the market is. And from this point forward, however any item behaves is entirely up to you as a merchant how you flip it. So again, this is not endorsing any of these items, but I wanted to talk about these specifically. And so first one, I have the Arcane Spirit Shield. Now the Arcane was sitting at about 130 mil before it started crashing. Yeah, so like 130 mil before it started crashing, and then the update came, world map and balancing changes, massive panic ensues, and the whole community just kind of goes into spiral. The next one we have is a Dragon Warhammer. Let's look at the monthly time frame. Okay, so this was initially, so this was a little rocky in the past. So this was something that was teetering for a while, but with this recent update, it also started to face a little bit more of uncertainty and started rocking a little bit harder than it used to in the past. So those are things to pay attention to. And then the last one, we have here is my favorite graph. So if we kind of zoom out, we're on the yearly time frame. Okay, there we go. So if we look at the yearly time frame, we can see the amount traded graph alongside the price graph. And I mean, the first thing that you should notice is that the amount traded graph is just kind of going up in a steady line. And for a while, this item was trying to stay at around 60ish mil, 50ish mil, and there have been a lot of arguments as to why this item should have been valued at where it's at. But I think I have to be very careful when I say this. I think people are overvaluing an item in which this item is easily obtained through a method that is arguably the most popular thing to do in old school RuneScape. And because of that, I mean, you can obviously see here that the amount coming in is just steadily rising. So In terms of whatever you guys, if you guys are looking at this item, in terms of whatever you guys think it's valued for the future, that's entirely up to you. But I wanted to throw this graph in here because I found it very interesting with the recent price crash when it came to world map balancing and changes. I can't see this item ever hitting 70 mil ever again in the future, and if it does, I'll be shocked. But it is possible. Another thing you want to pay attention to when it comes to updates like this is that you're going to want to have each of those item pages open. Now, if you're not a premium user, I don't think this works for you, but if you're a premium user, if you're a premium user, then you're gonna get these live price updates that come in as the site touches them. So you'll see the past transactions, and you'll see how kind of the trades are coming in. And if we kind of go down here, also as a premium member, you're gonna have the day time frame, which is a little bit more accurate than everyone else. But again, when a market crashes as quickly as it did during this time, I think it went from like 110 all the way down to it went below 80 mil. I believe it went a little bit lower than 80 mil. But if you were watching the graph during this time frame, during this little dip here, then you would have this site, the live price updates wouldn't have been coming in as quickly as what the price is actually in game. So in order to combat something like that, you're going to want to pay attention to the buying and selling quantity section on the upper hand portion of this. And normally with an update like this, I'll constantly refresh the page over and over again, maybe every 10-15 minutes to see how it's changing, maybe even a little bit sooner, given how quickly a community panics. So with the Arcane Spirit Shield, at any given moment I might see 20 people selling it, whereas 5 people are buying it. Or another moment I'll see 15 people buying it and 5 selling it. So, and then those turning points are what you're going to want to pay attention to as a merchant, because as these things kind of spiral down, they're going to hit these little rebounds, and in between those rebounds is where you can make money. But again, like Seven said, if you're not careful, if you're not experienced, selling your gear midway through the fall is really dangerous, and you could lose a lot of money. So if you're a brand new player or a brand new merchant and you're freaking out during this panic, and you held on to your arcane when it hit 110 mil, you're like, okay, it can't go any lower than this, perfectly fine. And then all of a sudden it started going to 100 mil and then 90 mil, and you start freaking out, and then now all of a sudden it's 80 mil, and then you sell it for like 75 mil. And then all of a sudden you look at the very top of this and you see now there's more people buying it as opposed to selling it, which would indicate a positive buy-sell ratio. And then you're going to start seeing the item start going back up again. And if you're a premium user, you're going to see it more quickly than anyone else on the site by using the daytime frame. But again, those things happen so quick that the site can't even keep up. But in terms of trying to combat that and try and keep yourself with those edges, or trying to keep yourself those edges over time, you're going to want to pay attention to the buying and selling quantity and the buy-sell ratio at all times during those panics. I wanted to show you guys my favorite items table because I wanted to show you guys how you might use it as a market indicator to determine the overall health of RuneScape. But at the same time, I'm not going to show my entire favorites list because I want to kind of go into this more in depth with another video that I have planned for you guys that's going to talk about these rises and crashes more in depth and specifically focus on that as a merchant and how you could protect yourself during those times, or of course try to make money. So keep in mind, the items that I'm showing here, I'm not again trying to endorse any of these specific items for flipping. These are solely market indicators that help me determine how the market's moving overall. So we can see with the Twisted Bow, Kodai Wand, Elder Maul, Elijah Spirit Shield, Arcane Spirit Shield, and Dragon Claws, these are some of the most valuable PVM items in game. And obviously PVM is going to be high in demand, so these items are going to be the highest in demand, highest valued, and have the most use. So if we keep these on our favorites tool, we can see with the site, it's going to kind of update this all the time. It's going to show us the buy sell ratio, which is going to help us determine whether or not where this is moving. But more importantly, I mean, if you guys can see, all of this is just red. The entire, all these items right now are just red. So it's indicating that these have gone down in value and they've lost value recently. So that's one way to look at it. But at the same time, you can never ever look at these tables at face value, because if we look at the Eliza Spirit Shield, within the market panic, it was much lower than 330 mil, and it's recently picked up back to a more stable price point, but it's still labeled as red. So again, you can't take these at face value, but the combination of all of these items present being red is a good indication that recently there was a market crash, that items have lost their value, and so that's something that you could use to your advantage when something like this happens. If you ever log into GE Tracker and you see your favorites list looking all red, that should be a red sign that you should be acting right there and then, especially when it comes to items like this of high value. So yeah, guys, really the moral of the story is that when stuff like this happens, you have to be very attentive and keep your emotions out of the game and make smart choices. So the first step is to actually make sure that you're always paying attention to Thursdays. Always pay attention to Thursdays. So if you live in the US, those updates are going to come in probably while you're sleeping. So I'm normally, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to be up early on Thursday mornings so I can see what those updates are coming in and kind of make my flips accordingly to that. And I would advise, if you guys live in the US as well, to do the same so you guys can stay on tune with how the market shifts. Because if you wait until, like, maybe you came home from work that day, like I can't, sometimes maybe your items would have dropped by like 30% and you're going to be too hesitant to sell your items. And then now because you're too hesitant to sell your items, you're going to continue to lose more money because you didn't sell the items initially during the shock wave that happened during that morning. And another thing I didn't mention in this video is always paying attention to what everyone else is saying. So during this time frame, I had to bite my tongue a lot, but at the same time, I was also able to get a lot of input from what other people were thinking, and what other people are thinking are also kind of a factor in how the market moves overall. And I know I didn't go too much in depth in this video, but I didn't because I really want to make another video about this, specifically on rises and falls and how as a merchant you might behave during those times. But this is definitely going to give you a clear picture on what that video is going to kind of entail. And I'm probably going to, with that video, I'm going to include more examples, updates, and stuff like that, kind of go a little bit more analytically into them. So it might be a much longer video if you're interested in that. But in terms of this video, again, the lessons really: make sure you act quickly, make sure you act independently, make sure your emotions are out of the game, make sure you pay attention to what the mods are doing, and make sure you always pay attention to Thursdays. Thursdays are going to be your most important day of the week, period. But other than that, guys, I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like down below to show your support. Be sure to subscribe for future content. Be sure to leave a comment down below to give me your thoughts. Good luck merchant, guys, and until next time.